Matt Bernie, you're taking a look at the DRF Bets race of the day for Friday, April the 27th. Race number 9, Keeneland Racecourse in Lexington, Kentucky. The Grade 3 Bewitch, 1.5 miles on the turf, 4 fillies and mares. Before we dive into the field, I encourage you to head on over to DRF Bets, sign up for a new DRF Bets account. You'll get a $150 sign-up bonus. DRF.com/join is the address. The promo code is TV150. Let's take a look at this field. Not a giant field, going 1.5 miles. And there is a prohibitive favorite in here in Daddy's Little Darling. Before we get to her, we'll just go right in post position order and start with the number 1, Akeem. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Making the first start here in North America for Roger Attfield. I think it's one of those things, it's very hard to ignore the notion that this may be nothing more than a starting off point for a horse like this, knowing that Attfield does most of his damage north of the border at Woodbine, and you see what this horse has done historically on the turf as opposed to the synthetic racing surfaces over in Europe. On turf overall, 2 for 14. On synthetic, 6 for 16. This seems like a perfect starting off point, in my opinion, for a horse who hasn't run since November at Chelmsford over the synthetic surface. You start off here, you have a horse ready to go for a stakes race north of the border at Woodbine over the Tapeta, and you also factor in a formulator fact like this one for Roger Attfield. Past 5 years, 4 in Chippers, 0 for 9. None of them have hit the board, and you can take it a step further in formulator and look at what their final off odds were. 5 of those horses were 6 to 1 or less. I think this horse could be really neat and interesting going forward, but I just don't know about Friday afternoon. I think synthetic is where this one's going to ultimately make her hay. I'm going to be against Akeem, but I think she could run well here in the Bewitch on Friday afternoon. Number 2, Mom's on Strike for Joe Sharp, was defeated as the 4-5 favorite most recently in New Orleans Ladies Overnight. That was back on March the 24th, going 1 mile and 16th on the turf. Stretches all the way out to 1.5 miles here on Friday. It's hard to argue with the overall turf record. 7 times in the exacta from 9 lifetime starts on the grass. 4 of them victories. From a buyer standpoint, was going the right direction prior to that most recent run down at the fairgrounds. Worth noting, as the fairgrounds meet wore on, it was more and more difficult to make up ground over that turf course, and she was coming from 7-8 lengths out of it. So I don't know that I want to entirely hold that against her, but at the same time, there was such little pop at the end. A little bit of a disappointing effort there. If you think she can get back to one of her best races and possibly maybe the favorite's a little bit vulnerable, maybe Mom's on Strike is an interesting alternative, 6 to 1 on the morning line. Number 3, She's a Prada, was cross-entered in a race on Wednesday. She did not run in the race on Wednesday, so if all goes as planned, she will be running on Friday afternoon for Mike Maker. It stretched out to the 1 3/8 mile distance most recently down at Gulfstream Park. A decent third, nothing spectacular, defeated by Somersault and Empress of the Nile. You go 2 starts back, well handled by Holy Helena, as well as Daring Dutchess, who she'll run into here as well, an uncoupled stablemate for Maker. I think She's a Prada is overmatched. She's going to need to run the race of her life. I think the connections would be thrilled if they got a grade stakes placing out of her. The number 4 is Coco Chanel, going out for Charlie Lepresti. Julian Leperoux has the mount. Interesting spot here for a horse like this. We're going to consult the Timeform US Pace Projector and see where they believe Coco Chanel is going to be positioned. You can see they think that she's going to be forwardly placed, maybe not on the lead because they think the 7 is actually going to clear off. But I think this horse, really, the best runs have come in that sort of forward running style. The question now becomes, what actually is her best surface? Because she's 0 for 6 lifetime on turf. She's 1 for 2 on dirt, 1 for 1 on a fast track. She finished 3rd in her lone wet track start, and she has a victory over synthetic. You also factor in from a buyer standpoint, she's on the light side. If she can somehow get out to the front, which, again, I'm not sure she's fast enough, and Timeform US doesn't think she is. If she can get out to the front, you've got Leperoux aboard, and I've talked about it. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, front-end rider you're going to find judging pace. A little bit of an uncharacteristically chilly meet at Keeneland for Julian Leperoux at the time this is being recorded, 2 for 51 overall, but you know what he's capable of at his best, and you know what Charlie Lepresti is capable of at his best. We'll find out if Coco Chanel at odds of 20 to 1 can spring the upset in the Bewitch. Let's get to the 3-5 favorite. That is Daddy's Little Darling, going out for Ken McPeak. Mike Smith gets reunited with her following that Grade 1 victory 2 starts back to round out 2017. She won the American Oaks, going 10 furlongs out at Santa Anita. She comes back in the Hillsborough. Very, very difficult starting off point when you consider the likes of La Coronel was in there, and Off Limits was in there, and some other big names. 4-star Crook for Chad Brown. I didn't think she ran poorly. A little bit disappointing, I guess, all things considered. But when you look and see the form that race has produced, or the form of that race has held up when you see what the subsequent efforts have sort of delivered. 98 buyers, 88 buyer, 97. The fifth place finisher off limits with a 98. Most of those girls ran in the Jenny Wiley 2 weeks ago. I think anybody's estimation, this is strictly the horse to beat. The question becomes, what kind of value is there going to be? From the win end, probably none, but perhaps this is the sort of the anchor for you in some sort of a multi-race wager. It's going to take a world of beating for Daddy's Little Darling not to get the job done here. I also believe this additional distance is not going to be an issue for her. I know she's never gone this far, but I like the way that she finished in that American Oaks, and I kind of feel like this is going to be her bread and butter, those sort of 10 furlong races. If she gets through a race like this, thinking way down the road, why not a race like the Beverly D at Arlington Park over the summer? Daddy's Little Darling is 3-5 on the morning line. Number 6, Daring Dutchess is an honest runner for Mike Maker. Ken and Sarah Ramsey. Jose Ortiz retains the mount. You know what her game is. She wants to be forward, and you saw by that Timeform US pace projector, she probably will be forward. The problem is I think she needs the lead in order to win, and I can't imagine her getting the lead with Sully's Dream drawn to her outside, as well as having Coco Chanel down to her inside. I think she's going to be in a little bit of a tough position, and I don't think she has the sort of kick that these other girls do, and that's what makes it so difficult. That most recent run in the very one, it's come back to be a decent enough race. The fourth place finisher, an 85 buyer next out. Sixth place finisher was a next out winner with an 88 buyer. Maybe Holy Helena would be a monster in a race like this, or in any race that she shows up in, but I just don't like the way this looks like it's going to set up on paper for Daring Dutchess. She's 0 for 4 at Keeneland. Only one time has hit the board. There's a part of me that just says, you know what? She's going to be one of the shorter prices that I'm going to take a stand against, 7-2 on the morning line. And the number 7 is Sully's Dream. Goes out for John Ortiz. Robbie Alvarado has the mount. This horse has really taken her game to the next level recently, but especially when she's been forwardly ridden. If you just let her go, she is very brave out there. She's 6 of 17 lifetime. There's a lot to like about her. The concern is twofold. The distance, 1.5 miles, is an unknown. We're going to wait and see for a number of these girls if the 1.5 miles is to their liking. And also the other speed in this race. If Coco Chanel is intent on being forwardly placed, if Daring Dutchess is intent on being forwardly placed, Timeform US doesn't have it color-coded anyway as far as the pace is concerned, but this could easily turn into a fast race, and conversely, it could be what we've seen a million times, where it looks like there could be an honest pace signed on, and everyone grabs, and then all of a sudden there's one horse that's just loose on the front end. Sully's Dream, I think the only way they can win this race is by going and being aggressively ridden. 95 buyer is the co-highest last out in the field. Very competitive Timeform US ratings. 1 in 3 starts back. Draw a line through that Bayakoa over a main track. I think there's a lot to like here with Sully's Dream. Wouldn't surprise me at all if this horse is going to be forward, but the concern becomes class as well as race shape. How does it all shake down? The DRF Bets race of the day for Friday, it's the Bewitch. We're going to try to upset the apple cart? No. I think Daddy's Little Darling is just strictly the horse to beat. I'm going to go with her in this spot. I know there is very, very little value as far as a win end is concerned, but I just think she's the best horse, and I think she could still have a very, very big 2018 campaign. Perhaps this is just the beginning off point there. If you're looking for possibly an underneath horse, I know I was saying, and I brought up that negative formulator fact for Roger Atfield, but maybe Icky May show. Maybe this is just a horse that can get a piece here and get ready for bigger and better things once she gets up to Woodbine. I'll go 5-1 in Friday's DRF Bets race of the day, the 9th at Keeneland. If you're playing the Bewitch Stakes from Keeneland, or any of the races from Keeneland for that matter, DRF Bets is the way to do it. Head on over to DRFbets.com/join. Use the promo code TV150. You'll get a $150 sign-up bonus. Scheduled post time for the DRF Bets race of the day Friday, the 9th at Keeneland, the Grade 3 Bewitched, 5:30 Eastern. Best of luck.